Well, it's video 6. This is decimals. Can you make believe for a few minutes that you won the lottery? I know it isn't difficult for me to make believe like that. Take a look. You won the lottery, and this is what you won. Could you read that number for me? Can anyone read that number for me? Okay, let's see if we can do it. It's $6,743,210.23. Now, these numbers here are whole numbers. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take a look at this. This is the ones, this is the tens, this is the hundreds, this is the thousands, this is the 10,000s, this is the 100,000s, and this is the millions. Do you remember that? This is the tens, the hundreds, the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s, the 100,000s, and the millions. Now those are all whole numbers. I want you to take a look now at the other side of the decimal point. And on the other side of the decimal point, what you're going to find is you're going to find numbers that are less than a whole. And this is called the tenths, and this is called the hundredths, and the thousands, and the 10,000ths, and the 100,000ths, and the millionths, with a TH at the end of each of those. The tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths, the 10,000ths, the 100,000ths, and the millionths. Now, tell me, would you rather have 6 millionths of a dollar, or would you rather have $6 million? I hope you pick 6 million. This is much less than a whole. So these decimals have names. The tenths, the hundredths, the thousands, the 10,000s, the 100,000s. And if you know how to name a decimal, well, then you can read it well. For instance, here is, many people will say 0.12. Well, that's not really correct. It's tenths, hundreds, 12 hundredths. Let's try another one. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And how many? 763 thousandths. And how about 8,623 10,000ths? So if you know what place it is, you can read your decimal. Now I'd like you to take a look with me, if you would. I want to show you the relationship between decimals and fractions. Take a look. Here we have 1/10, or 1/10. Here we have 1/100th, or 1/100th. 1,000th, or 1,000th. 1/10,000th, or 1/10,000th. 100,000th, 100,000th. 1,000,000th, or 1,000,000th. So this is the relationship between decimals and fractions. What I want to show you now is I want to show you how to add and subtract decimals. And it's not too difficult, you'll see. In fact, most people think it's much easier than adding and subtracting fractions. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be lining up the decimal points. All you have to do to add and subtract decimals is to line up the decimal points. So if we were adding 1 8/10 plus 2 45/100 plus 3 plus 6 222,000ths, in order to add this number, all we'd have to do is line up the decimal points. Can you do that? Sure you can. Here we have 1 8/10. Here we have 2 45/100. Here we have 3. We don't want to put it over here or over here. It's just like $3. Isn't that true? Like $3. Here's the decimal, and here's the 2 zeros. So here we have 3, and here we have 6 222,000ths. Now I have to tell you something. I have to tell you that if you were to put your 0 here and make the 3 like this, it would be 3 hundredths. It would be equal to 3 pennies. Or like this, it would be equal to 30 cents. When you put your decimal next to the 3 here, you're not changing the value. You're keeping it like $3. So let's see what we have. The rule is when you add and subtract decimals, you need to line up the decimal point. So let's line it up as best we can. And now some people like to put in zeros to save face. Right there. Save place. They like to put in zeros. And that's okay as long as you don't put in the zero like with 2 and 4500ths. If you put a zero like that, it would change the value of the number. But when you put it in like this, 2450, you're not changing the value of the number. It's like when you have $3 and you put zeros like this. You could put 100 zeros and it wouldn't change the value of the number. So, we're going to add. Let's do it. 2 plus all these zeros is 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. 2 plus 4 is 6, and 6 and 8 is 14. 6 and 3 is 9, and 1 is 10, 11, 12, 13. What do we have for an answer? We have 13 and 472 thousandths. That's how I add decimals. All I have to do is line up the decimal points, even in my answer, and add up the numbers. Let's try another one. Let's say that I had $3.45. And with the $3.45 that I had, I decided to spend a quarter. How much money do I have left? Well, I have $3.20 left. What did I do? I just subtracted like I normally would, but I lined up the decimal points. So that's addition and subtraction of decimals. Let's take a look at one more thing, and that's multiplication of decimals. When multiplying decimals, oh, it's not too bad. Let's have 3 and 56 hundredths, and let's multiply it by 21 hundredths. What are we going to do? We're going to multiply just like we normally would. 1 times 6 is 6, 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 6 is 12, 10 is 11, 6, 7, 6, 7, 4, 7. So we multiply the way we normally would, and then we go back to the question and we count the decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where I put my decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where I put the decimal point. Let's do another one. Let's say that we have almost the same number, that 356 thousandths times 21 hundredths. And of course, we get the same numbers, but we need to go back to the question to find out how many decimal places we need. We're going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4. Uh-oh, we don't have enough. What are we going to do? We're going to add a 0 and then put our decimal right there. So when we don't have enough decimal places, what we do is we add a 0, not here, but here, and then put your decimal place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, add a 0, and then put your decimal. And that's how you multiply decimals. So what I want you to do is I want you to get some practice, if you would, and I'd like you to get practice in Workbook 2. Learn Math Quickly, Workbook 2. Please go to pages 6 and 7, that's part 1. And then go to pages 12 and 13, and that's part 2. And you get a lot of practice in addition, subtraction, and multiplication of decimals. And then come on back for division. Well, here we are at the second part of video 6, decimals. We're going to be dividing decimals today, so let's take a look at some of the division problems on the board. Here we have a plain old division problem, 2 into 44. 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. So the answer is 22. No decimals, no problems, huh? Let's go on to the second one now. Here we have a decimal place in this inside number. So what are we going to do? We're going to bring the decimal place straight up in the answer, and then divide like we normally would. 2 into 4 goes 2, and 2 into 4 goes 2. So got that rule? First rule, bring the decimal point straight up when there's only a decimal place in the inside number. And here's another one. Here we have 2 tenths into 4 and 4 tenths. And what are we going to do? Oh boy, we cannot divide when there is a decimal place in this outside number. We have to bring it over. So we bring it over right like this. And whatever I do to the outside, I have to do to the inside. So if I bring it over once, well then I have to bring this decimal place over once also. And then I can bring it straight up to my answer. And then I go 2 into 4 is 2, and 2 into 4 is 2. And I'm left with 22. Now, would I need that decimal place here? No, I don't. It's just like having $22. I don't need it. I could put it and put zeros. And if you were continuing answering, if you were continuing with more numbers, you would need to keep that decimal place there. Now, let's take a look at this one. Here we have 2 tenths into 44. What am I going to do? Well, I need to move my decimal place over. And if I move it over once, I have to move it over once in the inside number. But do you see a decimal place here? I don't. So I'm going to put my decimal here. If it was $44, that's where it would go. And then I'm going to add a 0 and move it over once. Because if I move it over here once, I need to move it over here once. If I move it over twice, I have to move it over twice. It's like a balance scale. Whatever I do to this number, I have to do to this number. And then I can bring it straight up. And 2 goes into 4, 2. 2 goes into 4, 2. And 2 goes into 0, 0. Now, do I need this decimal place? No, it's just like $220. I could put it there and put some zeros, or I could just leave it alone. Again, if I was continuing with this problem with more numbers, I would need that decimal place. You get the idea? Good. Let's try it one more time. Let's take a look at these numbers. Here we have 3 into 6 and 6 tenths. Remember what we have to do? If there's a decimal place in the inside number, we just bring it straight up. And we say 3 into 6 goes 2, and 3 into 6 goes 2. And the answer is 2 and 2 tenths. Now, here we have 3 tenths into 6 and 6 tenths. What do we have to do? Well, we need to bring the decimal place over like this. And if we do it once here, we need to do it once here, just like that. And then we can bring it straight up. And we divide as we normally would. 3 into 6 goes 2, and 3 into 6 goes 2. And we put the decimal place there if we wanted, or we could take it away. And now, here's this one. We have 3 hundredths into 6 and 6 tenths. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to move it over twice. And if we move it over twice, well, then we're going to have to move this over twice, too. And we're going to add a 0. And now we're going to divide. 3 into 6 is 2. 3 into 6 is 2. 0. 220. And if we needed to, we could bring the decimal place up right there. Let's try another one. Here, we're going to move it over 1, 2, 3 times. And if we move it over 3 in the outside number, we're going to have to move it over 3 in the inside number. So we go 1, 2, 3. And 3 into 6 is 2, 2, 0, 0, 0. And there we go. So you get the idea? This is how we divide decimals. Now, I would like to show you something else. Sometimes you're going to be called upon to divide a larger number into a smaller number, like 3 into 1. And we can do it now with a decimal point and add a few zeros. Usually we add 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or 4. So let's try it. 3, we bring this up, and 3 into 10 goes 3. And then we're going to get 1 left over, and we bring down our 0. We get 3 into 10 goes 3. Oops, excuse me, with 1 left over. And then we could add a few more zeros. And we could say, well, 3 into 10 goes 3. And then we have 1 left over. And then 3 into 10 goes 3. And then we have 1 left over. Do you think I'm going to have 1 left over all the time? Do you think that this number is going to be 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 forever and ever and ever? Sure it is. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. Same thing, over and over. So we need to put a stop to it. And how are we going to do it? This is called a repeating decimal. And in order to stop a repeating decimal, we put a bar over it, just like that. Put that bar over the 3, 3, and we know that it's going to go on and on and on forever. Another thing we could do is we could stop it a little bit earlier, and we can bring this 3 all the way down, and we could say 33 1/3 hundredths. That's another thing we could do. Another thing we could do is something called rounding off. Now let me show you what rounding off is. If you have 333 thousandths, and you know it's going to go on and on and on, you could round off to the nearest hundredth. So here's the hundredths place, right? Tenths, hundredths. And you could look at this number, the thousandths, and if it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, you just drop the number. But if it was 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, you would add 1 to here to make it 34. So rounding off, if it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, you just drop the number. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, you add 1 to the hundredths place and then drop the number. You can round to the nearest hundredth or the nearest tenth, but rounding off is a very good thing to do, too. Now, one last thing I want to show you before you do your homework is I'd like to show you how to compare decimals. Let's see, we'll have 3 hundredths, 32 hundredths, and 7 tenths, and 666 thousandths. Now, what some people do is they add some zeros, these place-saving zeros, like this, and then they change them all to fractions. And what do they get? They get 320 thousandths, and 700 thousandths, and 666 thousandths. And they look at these fractions and they say, gee, which one is the smallest? Well, this one certainly is. And which one is the largest? Well, this one certainly is. And some people don't go through all that trouble at all. They just add some zeros to make all the numbers even. And then, and of course you have to add the 0 after the number, so you don't change the value. And then they just take away the decimal point and they say, gee, now which one of these numbers is the biggest and the smallest? Well, this one is the smallest, and this one is the biggest. So this is called comparing decimals. And I think you'll be doing some of that in your math studies. What I'd like you to do, if you would, is I'd like you to go to the Learn Math Quickly workbook, and I would like you to do the homework. Part 1 is pages 8 to 11, and Part 2 is pages 14 to 17. And I'd also like to show you that on page 18, there is a fraction decimal drill, so you won't forget your fractions. And on page 19, there is a decimal review sheet, so you won't forget your decimals. Good luck with decimals. See you for the next video.